Literally.
All right, I'm going to call the 7th meeting of the 13th Undergraduate Senate to order. Thank you for being flexible. We're having a lot of technological issues right now. All right, I'll start with roll. Senator Hakami.
Here.
Senator Pintar.
Here.
Senator Hawk.
Here.
Senator Hanash.
Here by proxy.
Proxy last name.
Rissa.
Senator Dantzler. Senator Burgess. Senator Meacham.
Here.
Senator Chen.
Here.
Senator Adams.
Here.
Senator Plinsky.
Here.
Senator Najafi. Okay. Senator Koshbin.
Here.
Senator Fryer.
Here.
Senator Kenna. Senator Martine.
Here by proxy.
Okay. Senator Morrow. Senator Mejia. Senator Zitzman.
Here.
Senator O'Connor.
Here by proxy.
What's the last name?
Abdu.
Okay.
DNP.
Senator Leaney.
Here.
Senator Nayar. Senator Beaton. Senator Al Jabber.
Here.
Senator Howard.
Here.
Senator Legitimacy.
Here by proxy.
Senator Agdepa.
Here.
Okay, cool. All right, quorum is met, and you're good. All right, moving to the adoption of the agenda. Any discussion? Yes, Senator Hawk.
I move to amend the agenda by adding the directive I sent you via email earlier today.
Okay, where do you want to add it?
That would go under new business.
But where specifically?
At the end, I guess it'd be section H.
I forget what it was called. Directive to, wasn't it to fix directive? 17.001. I sent all the additional documents that I had to you guys. I should be there in a second now. Any other discussion on the agenda? Senator Pintar.
Yeah, I'd like to add the policy book change that I just sent you, policy book to change mandated special election to the very end of new business.
Okay. So it's a new policy book?
Or a policy book amendment, just how I wrote it. If that's
Okay, no, we can just do that during old business. You can
Okay.
amend it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Other discussion on the agenda?
I report.
Yes, thank you. This wasn't the update. Both secretary and vice president. Oh my God. Other discussion on the agenda. All right, it will be adopted without objection. Moving on to the adoption of the minutes from the 6th meeting. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing no discussion or amendments, the minutes will be adopted without objection. All right, moving to appear for public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak at this time? Yes. Can you just state your name and?
Jordan Bell.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here to express my support for the bill to limit construction noise due to the fact that I have repeatedly been woken up at 7 a.m. every morning, even if I have class at like 2:30. And like, I'm not really trying to start controversy or anything. I'm just simply, I have no incentive to be here other than the fact that I'm literally woken up every morning by the construction. So I think it'd be wise for the Senate to adopt the bill.
Thank you.
And yeah, if I need to continue to, if you have any questions. I don't really know how this works.
It's all good. I appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
Other members of the public. Other members of the public wishing to speak. Joyce, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad to see we have someone from the public here who may come to all the meetings from now on because someone else from the public will not be coming to any more meetings. That is to say, Mr. Speaker, I am giving you my resignation from AUSG. True, I don't hold any positions in AUSG. I'm not elected to the Senate. I'm not appointed to any positions, but I've been here, in the case of most of the freshman senators, probably to more meetings than any of you. So why am I resigning? Mr. Speaker, there are some really great people in AUSG, the executive board among them. They have a certain skeptical style that I really admire among student government leaders across the United States. And there are some people who share that style of leadership in the Senate. People who, I won't name them, but you know who they are. They often say, you know, this is just a club, guys. Like, stop. And I really admire them because they're not the ones playing the House of Cards game. I came here early at the beginning of the year to start sitting in on every Senate meeting and speaking at all of them because I was really elated to see, I mean, coming from a high school where I fought, coming from an entire state where I fought for students' rights, to come to a university and to have the privilege of being represented, that's really something. A lot of people don't have that around the world in their universities. And so I just thought it was great to have senators who represent me. I have 10 senators representing me, 11. Forgot Ron. Where is he? Love you, Ron. So 11 people representing me, and one would think I could come here and talk about my concerns and, you know, maybe hope that the world, or at least the university, becomes a better place. But that doesn't seem to be what happens. Instead, when you keep coming, they think, Joyce is one of us now. And one of us, I don't talk about the people who I said I admire, I talk about the people who I don't admire. And those people will be glad to know that they have finally gotten rid of me. They've finally gotten rid of someone who cares about what they're trying to do. So after calling community directors on me, after reporting me to administration because apparently I'm not good enough to voice my concerns, finally, you have gotten rid of me. You've succeeded, but you've also failed because you had someone who cared about what you're trying to do, who was fooled by you saying how progressive you are, how much you care. I'm not really fooled anymore. I want to close talking specifically. And just coming to mind right now, it just strikes me something Christine said last meeting, no wonder Taylor resigned. But last thing I want to talk about, and I'm sorry I get emotional at every damn Senate meeting, but here I am. Last time, I promise. I want to talk about how progressive the Senate is and who it's progressive for. You're progressive for a lot of people, and I admire you for that. For women, for people of color, for queer people, for working people. You're not very progressive for neurodivergent people. And it's a little more philosophical than I think most of us want to get, but it's a matter of empathy. And most of you, I don't know for sure, but most of you are neurotypical in this room. I'm not. I'm autistic. And that's my obsession, student government. They say every autistic person has various really weird obsessions. That's mine. And one of the things that really attracts me to the idea of student government, thanks, is the interpersonal exchanges that define it. And I know I've said to like most of you, like, damn, I really believe student government can do things. And like, I believe that, but that's not why I got involved. I got involved because like everyone, I really wanted to make friends. And like, I care about what you do, and I believe in it. But just in how much I admired you all and what you do and what you believe in, I thought, I really want to be friends with these people. And as an autistic person, it's not easy to make friends. And I thought, wrongly, you know, if I'm this passionate about this and they're this passionate about this, we must be friends. But I seriously misevaluated how a lot of you are. I don't think a lot of you really are passionate about this. I don't think we are passionate about the same things. And it's not a condemnation of neurotypical people at all. I know it could come across that way. It's, I guess what I'm trying to say, and the last thing I'll say, try and have more empathy for everyone. For all the people you say you want to help, have empathy for them. What are you going to do for them? And personally, I'm saying, have empathy for neurodivergent people. Have empathy for people who not only don't see the world the way you see it, but who just can't see the world the way you see it. Have empathy for us. Because I know I have to go and do other things. But I have 17 and a half credits. It's a miracle. But I hope in the future someone else like me comes, and they might be autistic, they might not be, I don't know, but someone who comes here and says, you guys are passionate about this and I'm passionate about this, let's connect on an emotional level and on a political level. Let's connect on them both. And I hope that when that happens, some collective memory will say, let's get it right this time. And think about the other person. I know I wasn't really clear in this speech. I wish I could have been. It's probably going to be my last speech in public comment. I won't be coming to any more Senate meetings. And I guess the last thing I'll say is, though I've condemned a lot of you and praised a lot of you, I do admire all of you for taking the time out for a really thankless job on Sundays and for the executive board every day, and coming out here and talking about things that matter. And I think that's all I've got. So thank you, Mr. Speaker and Senators. Thank you for having me.
Any other member of the public wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on. Reports from officers. First, the Vice President Self. Floor is yours.
Hi everyone, I'm gonna be brief. I have to run. Biggest things I want to talk about today are the past school councils. There are two open positions, training team president and SPA president for those councils. We really want to get those like filled. So training team people, SPA people, or anyone in general. If you know someone who would like be interested in that position, the top on the website, the app's open. A big part of what I want to do as vice president is like get the past school councils up and running. When I came in, there were like 2. Now we have 7. So if I get these last 2 filled, so like I said, you know, people who might be interested, have them go online and me with their resume, application, I'll interview them, talk to them, and we'll try and get that done hopefully in the next couple of weeks. That's really good. If you have any questions, I'll take those down.
Questions for the vice president? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving to Secretary Schneider.
Before I begin my report, I just want to kind of follow up on what Joyce was saying. I don't think she was particularly wrong about anything she said. I do think that AUSG lacks empathy a lot. I don't think that we're particularly good as fellow students listening to students who disagree with us and understanding on their level why they disagree with what we're advocating for. I think we have a problem listening to our peers within the organization about why they disagree with what we say is reality. So I think empathy, I think that theme of empathy was great. And I would just implore our organization to have more empathy. Now to begin my report. Jacob put together the special election timeline. Info sessions are this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. They're probably going to be in the AUCC office, but we're going to nail that down hopefully today. An email will be sent to the student body with all this information. Campaigning begins on Saturday, February 10th at 6:30. Nomination convention, which is when signatures are due, is on Thursday, February 15th. And then voting will be Thursday and Friday, February 21st through Wednesday through Friday, 21st and 23rd. And then the election results will be announced on the 23rd in the tavern. There is the special election, which is mandated by the Constitution. So I know that we're looking at potentially trying to get around the special election. I'm here to tell you that I looked at it for a really long time and I consulted a lot of people across this organization that have been here for a really long time and know the governing documents in and out, and it's not possible. The Constitution mandates a special election within 30 days of a vacancy in the presidency or the vice presidency. No legislation up to and including a state of exception can modify the Constitution. So anything that tries to change that is unconstitutional and will be referred to jail board. Continuing. The jobs board, to reiterate what I've said the last couple of weeks, I've made the jobs board safer for students by adding an extra layer of approval for each individual job, and users now see this notification each time they go to the jobs board. And they have to acknowledge that in order to use it. Relaunch of the SG calendar, which is something that I worked on last year and kind of fell by the wayside for a number of reasons, but in coordination with the Eagles Diversity Committee, we're going to be relaunching the SG calendar by mid-February. It's going to be a place for all student organizations to post events, and email to the student body will go out with details in the coming weeks. Kind of in the same vein as last year, there is no central university calendar for clubs to utilize or that students know how to access. So hopefully this year we can make this institutionalized. The UPass. Since the UPass was first introduced, students have been asking for a summer version. As we get into the second semester, these conversations are happening again. Thank you for reaching out. What happened was this year, AU didn't make the program permanent yet. They renewed the pilot. So they're going to be going back to Metro to hopefully renegotiate for a permanent program this year. And I will voice the student concerns that we hope some sort of summer program can be implemented. I will voice those concerns and update you. I'm not sure when those meetings are happening, but I'll reach out to parking and commuter services as soon as I can to get an update on where those negotiations are. Get your flu shot. It's not too late. It's free with health insurance, including the one that you get through AU if you don't have independent health insurance.
You have to pay the copay.
With the AU health insurance?
No, you have to pay the copay if you go to the health center.
Yeah. If you go to CVS, it's free.
Yes.
Yeah, go to CVS, it's free.
Alrighty.
Go to the one in Cathedral Commons. There's less of a wait because they don't have a mini clinic. At the one in Tenleytown, there's a mini clinic, so you have to wait in the general mini clinic queue. Pro tip. It protects you and everyone around you, especially those who can't get a flu shot because some people medically cannot. And if you still get the flu, it'll be less severe when you have the flu shot, and you get a free Band-Aid. So.
Did you get a fun Band-Aid? Fun Band-Aid?
No, it was a boring Band-Aid, but whatever. My office hours this semester are Monday 7 to 8 p.m., Thursday 5:30 to 7, Friday by appointment, and weekends by appointment. And I'm always available via email, as most people can attest to. I try and respond in a very timely manner. Also, Facebook Messenger. This happened to be twice in the last week that I typed out a response and forgot to hit send. But hanging in there. Okay, I have a bonus. What's it going to be? The newest member of the AUHD family.
We have two.
One more. My roommates and I adopted a dog. His name is Ryder. He's a 4-year-old pit bull, and I love him so much.
What's his position? What's his position?
I'll be sending his confirmation next week.
Okay, great.
Any questions?
Yeah, question.
When will the dog be in my office? Hopefully when I convince my roommates to let him come to campus.
But don't let Mike see him if he's not registered as a student or as an emotional support or service dog, or Mike Elmore will remove him from campus.
Well, Mike is not here. Mike isn't here on the weekends, so.
Other questions for the secretary?
Why didn't you include my dog in this?
Seeing none, we'll move on. All right.
Fine. They both live in Maryland.
All right, so some quick updates. Thank you for most of you doing your office hours this past week. There was an increase from the first week, so that's good. But not everyone has been doing their office hours, so I don't know whether or not you're forgetting to sign in or you're just not doing them. But remember, you have to sign in on the sheet to get credit for them. Some people have still not signed up for office hours, which is a very drastic concern. But I am personally hunting you all down this week. So besides that, make sure I send an email to those who don't have their bio or headshot on the website. Please get that in before I get even more angry than I am now.
Not very angry.
Yeah, you haven't seen angry yet.
You don't want to see it.
In terms of committees, make sure that you are responding to your committee chairs to get a time, because we had a committee announcement this week, like almost an entire week in advance, and we still only had like 3 people show up for the committee, and therefore quorum was not met. So there is a bill that is still being considered, or a piece of legislation that's still being considered that hasn't moved out of committee because there was no quorum. So make sure that you attend your committees. Because if you don't, and you don't tell your committee chair that you're not going to be there, then it's marked against you as well. And I really don't want to go through suspension processes. So, in addition to that, the legislative agenda is going up tomorrow, so that's exciting. When we have it posted on the Facebook page, I would encourage you all to share it and make a comment about it. That way more people know that it exists now and more people can read it. Hopefully y'all have had a chance to go over it. There's some great goals in there. There's also a lot of the contact information, which is critical for transparency and allowing more people to, know that we exist and what we do is something that actually benefits them. I think that's it on my part. Questions for me at this time? Cool. All right. Moving on to reports from committees. First to the Standing Committee on Campus and Student Life.
So we just had one bill that we went over, and made it out of committee without like any real changes. And we addressed a couple concerns and reached out to the sponsors. I actually have those specific concerns. So this was the transgender community bill. Sponsors were Senator Fryer and Senator Hakami. So we were just confused, and when we get to this bill, we'll address it, I guess, but we were confused about what single stall meant. I just want a clarification on that. We were confused about what anti-LGBTQ community like discrimination there was in sorority and fraternity life, and we just wanted to make sure that there was something going on specifically, and if there was, maybe we can address it in there. That way we actually do something instead of not just announcing the concerns. And then just a couple things that that RHA President Rogers said were to be careful lumping the transgender and LGBTQ community together, because this bill kind of does this. So maybe in the future, if we address the transgender community, just make a bill specific to them. That way they don't feel like they're just being lumped in. Besides that, though, we think it's a good bill and we hope it gets voted on favorably.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the chair? Cool. All right, moving on to the Special Committee on Finance.
Yeah, so we met last week just to consider the tuition bill that y'all referred to our committee. And we tabled it because, I mean, there were concerns about if it was really a good idea or if there were other ways to financially assist students. So we tabled it for the time being, and we came up with a list of a few questions to ask the university regarding financial aid and how we can augment that. And I understand Chris is going to be putting me in touch with the student trustee later today to move forward with those questions.
Questions for the chair? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Special Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Senator Carr's not there. Senator Kami, you want to speak?
Yeah, so we talked about the resolution to expand world languages and core studies. I created an Excel sheet where each member in the committee of DEI can reach out to specific department heads and schedule meetings and discuss implementations of new languages. Senator Zitzman made a few cool graphics for us to navigate the importance of certain language additions over others. And then also, actually I brought that to the meeting just because I've been carrying them around with me everywhere. I printed a bunch of commitment to consent signs. If you have ever gone to like a party at ZBT or Zeta Psi, or if you just know who they are, the brats on campus, they're pretty much the only brats that have commitment to consent signs hung up all around. And I'm working with a few people on making sure that every single frat mandatorily has these hung on different doors. And not only is just trained in bystander intervention, but understands that you need to make a verbal and a visual like commitment to guest safety at parties. So if you want to help out, to print some more and to contact some people, like please do. Be great.
Cool. Any questions for the chair? Vice Chair. Seeing none, we'll move on to Committee on Rules and Privileges. We had 2 confirmation processes in committee along with the elections policy book. As you see, since they're both on the agenda, they were both favorably recommended to full Senate. And there was one amendment made to the elections policy book, which I sent out to you all. It was just an addition. That's sort of what we were discussing while everyone was like rolling in at 1 o'clock. But that was also favorably recommended for full debate in the Senate. And that's it for that. Any questions for CRP? Cool. All right. Moving on to advising from student activities.
I have nothing. You guys are doing a good job. I'll be gone for the entire month of February. Yeah. But I'll be back in March. So I'll see you then. And I will have something then, but I don't know yet. What?
Any questions? All right, cool. Moving on to new business. First agenda item is the confirmation of Jacob Robbins to be senator for the College of Arts and Science. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam President, and members of the Cabinet, members of the administration, and senators. My name is Jacob Robbins. I'm a freshman here pursuing dual degrees in political science and film and media studies. And I'm here today hoping to serve as the senator for the College of Arts and Sciences. I believe wholeheartedly in service. I think one of the most important duties that a citizen may be called to do is to serve their government. And I could probably speak ad nauseum to you all today about my experiences in student government in high school, but instead I want to talk to you today a little bit about why I feel like I'm uniquely qualified for this position and some lessons that I've learned in my brief years on this earth. So in April of 2016, I decided to not go the usual college route. I decided to take a gap year and serve with the AmeriCorps. I served in elementary school in Northern California. And a lot of what I learned was about leadership, about standing up, about sitting down also, and making sure that you're listening, and making sure that you're always checking to make sure that you have a consensus and that you can actually go and talk to people who you disagree with. And you can be as empathic as you possibly can be, that you can show up even when it's really hard, and to never give up the hope that really amazing things can be accomplished. That's what I hope to do if I'm nominated to be senator. I know that right now people don't feel as though their student government represents them. They feel like it's unattainable. I want to be the kind of senator that is out there hoping to build a consensus, talking to disparate groups on campus, and looking to make sure that this is a student government that represents everybody. I'll close with this. Some of you see me wearing around these bands. These are bands that I've gotten from the AmeriCorps. So there's 8 core tenets to the AmeriCorps program that I served in city year. I won't go through all of them now, but one of the most important ones is to be frontmost, centermost. And that doesn't mean physically being in the front and being center. It means also mentally showing up and being present. And that's the kind of senator that I want to be, somebody who serves, who works hard, who goes to the meetings, who does all the hard work. I hope you have hard questions because I've done the homework and I'm ready to serve. Thank you.
All right, questions for the nominee, Senator Burgess.
Hi. So you clearly do have a lot of experience just with leadership and in general with student government. One thing I know you said that you want to serve as senator for the College of Arts and Sciences. Have you met with any CAS students to just ask them what are some things that they would like to see from their senator, and are there any sort of like policy ideas that you want to do to help CAS students and then just the university as a general?
Thank you for that question, Senator. So I have, as I'm sure the speaker can attest to, I have asked him to send me the email of the CAS president like 5 million times. I've reached out to her on Facebook just to make sure we could meet, we could be on the same page. I haven't heard back from the CAS president specifically, but as a CAS student myself, I know some of the things that I want to see, and speaking to some of the students, I think that they just want a senator who's present. And I think that they want somebody who can understand and show that CAS is represented, right? And that people feel like they can look and see that people are actually doing something with CAS. One of my policy ideas is to create a special caucus within this group, working with the other senators who represent the other schools. I know COGOT doesn't have a senator, so perhaps working with the COGOT president of that council to create a special caucus to look at the special interests of the schools and working towards creating policy within those schools. I know Senator Zitzman is working on a bill to improve the relationship between the undergraduate Senate and the faculty Senate. I would love it if we could create that special caucus and work with Senator Zitzman on incorporating that into his bill.
Thank you. Senator Polinsky.
So something that struck me during Joyce's speech was the term House of Cards, and that's what people think Senate's like. And I've heard this before. I heard this when I was running. And then you talked about how you think consensus was a very important ideal, and that's something that you look to strive towards. So I was wondering if you could talk about how you hope to quell the notion that Senate is a House of Cards body, and how you hope to limit the amount of drama that exists within the body.
Sure, so that's a really hard question, and I think I could probably spend so much time today talking about that. I think the most important thing, Senator Polinsky, to be quite honest with you, you just have to sit down and be humble, right? You have to be able, right? It's the truth. You have to be able to sit down and to just listen, even when you feel so adamantly that somebody is wrong. And then I think you have to respectfully just seek to understand them, right? I think that's one of the main problems in our government today. One of the main problems with our society today. Nobody wants to go and talk to other people whose views differ from them. The biggest thing I learned in the AmeriCorps was that you have people whose passions are so high and the stakes are so high. And yet, if everybody feels differently on how something should be addressed, nothing will get done. You have to be able to, at times, quell your passion, sit down and just listen and then reach out. But the place to reach out is not when your passions are so inflamed. You have to making sure you're always stepping back, always being reflective and understanding.
Other questions for the nominees? Secretary Schneider.
What were your majors again?
It's political science and film and media.
Okay. I love everything that you're saying, and I think you would be a great addition to this body. Neither of those majors are CAS.
Film and media is literature. Literature with a concentration in film and media.
Okay. Gotcha. So it's not film and media arts. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I was confused.
Senator Koch.
Okay, thank you for verifying.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I made sure to verify this too as well. Thank you. Mr. Secretary.
I was like,
Thank you.
Senator Koch.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins, for speaking with us today. Greatly appreciate it. If you are to be confirmed to this body, can you name one or two key pieces of policy that you would spend your time focusing on throughout the course of your term?
Questioning has elapsed. Senator Zitzman.
I move for 2 more minutes.
How many?
Yeah, let's go with 3.
Okay. There's a motion to extend by 3 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay.
Would you like me to repeat my question? Mr.
No,
Robbins?
I understood the question, and I appreciate that question. I think I could probably spend a long time talking about the different pieces of legislation that I would want to get done. The first one is making sure, right, I spoke a little bit before about creating that special caucus to focus on issues within just the schools. A second piece of legislation that is maybe somewhat ambitious for just an appointee, but I don't think it can ever be too ambitious, is looking at a modern infrastructure bill, right? When we think about infrastructure, we think about in terms of roads and services. I want to look at what are the things that college students need when they're coming into school, identifying those, and then creating a comprehensive bill that either looks at ways to increase access to those services, so whether it be mental health or communication between different clubs or groups. I would love to work on that. Besides that, I'd be more than welcome to talk to you, Senator, about some of the other pieces of legislation that I'm hoping to pass.
Other questions? Seeing none, if you wouldn't mind leaving the room. Discussion on the nominee. Yes, Senator Burgess.
Can I motion to move to a vote on the nominee?
You could, or if no one else says to say anything, we'll automatically do that. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of confirming Jacob Robbins to be senator for the College of Arts and Science, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. All right.
You want me to go get it?
Yes, please. I'll swear you in after we go through the second confirmation. All right, moving on to the next business. The confirmation of Iman Vahidi to be chair of the Joint Commission on Elections Policy. The floor is yours.
Matters clerical, but it's joint committee.
Oh, my bad. Hang on.
Because I care more about the work Jason does. Hi, everybody. My name's Iman. A lot of you hopefully know me already. I'm actually on JSEP. I've been on JSEP since October. And so I helped the estimates from and others with the new bill that we'll be talking about later during new business or old business, sorry. And so in terms of what I want to accomplish on JSEP, I want to keep pushing our work forward. We've made a lot of change with the new EPB. Hopefully it served us better than the last one did. And as the coming elections come and go, we'll make additional tweaks and changes. I want to help Jake, the elections commissioner, with interpreting the policy and making it all work out. My goal is just smooth, fair, and easy elections for all students around campus. I'll take questions.
Questions from the nominee? Seeing none, if you wouldn't mind leaving the room. Discussion on the nominee. Senator Hakami.
Elon's the smartest human being I've ever met in my entire life as a young adult. I think he's like really passionate about what he does. It's kind of a no-brainer. I would assume that would go with him.
Other discussion. Secretary Schneider.
He's great. He's highly recommend. He's been in JSEP for a while now, and I don't know anybody who knows elections policy more like backwards and forwards, like an AU wonk, than.
Stop.
Other discussion on the nominee. Senator Kami.
He's a really smart guy. He like actually knows everything. It's freaky. Like so smart.
Senator Burgess.
Just echoing what everybody said. He's a great person. I've been friends with him when I was running for my election campaign. So he's great. I think he would do a great job to kind of reform the process of what JSEP is, what it is to be for the next few years in the Senate. I mean, in student government as a whole. And if there is no other discussion, I'd like to motion to move to end debate and then also go into a vote.
All right, there's a motion to close debate. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of closing debate say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. All right. For the confirmation of Iman Vahidi, all those in favor of confirming the nominee to be chair of the Joint Committee on Elections Policy say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. All right.
He's not in the room yet.
Or like celebration.
Sorry, I didn't make it.
All right, if the two nominees would like to come up here, please.
Can I take the photo?
Sure.
Wow.
Am I delegating the duties of secretary to the interim president?
Oh, for the camera.
Yeah, you get it right in front of the camera.
Okay.
You please
Oh.
raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Jacob Robbins,
do solemnly swear
that I will diligently and faithfully
that I will diligently and faithfully
execute the duties and responsibilities
execute the duties and responsibilities
of the office of, state your office,
of the office of Senator for the College of Arts and Sciences,
that I will abide by the governing documents
that I will abide by the governing documents
of the student government,
of the student government,
and that I will work to my fullest abilities
that I will work to my fullest abilities
to promote the interest and welfare
to promote the interest and welfare
of the students of American University.
of the students of American University.
Congratulations.
All right, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
It's 32 degrees and there's freezing rain outside. How are you wearing shorts?
It's raining out.
Freezing.
Never question Trevor.
Freezing rain.
Have you noticed that there's flamingos on here?
Does that make you warmer?
Yeah, it makes me warmer.
Maybe he's not happy.
I have an umbrella, so it doesn't really affect me.
I know.
All right, moving on to the next agenda items. The clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Bill 17-18-011, a bill to limit early morning construction noise.
Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
Point of inquiry first off, if I want to try to waive first reading, do I just motion? I'd like to motion to waive first reading.
Okay, there's a motion to waive first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Okay, all of those.
Is it, point of inquiry, is it debatable or no?
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Yes, it is debatable. Points for or against waiving first reading on this bill. Senator Polinsky.
So I'm gonna make this quick because the main criticism against waiving first reading is that we have too many things on the floor, and we should just wait on it. But listening to what Jordan said, I think you guys know that this is not just a problem that affects Jordan, it's a problem that affects many people in the freshman residence halls. And I want to get to advocating it as soon as possible, and I don't think I can do that without the mandate of this bill being passed. So I want to be talking to administration as soon as possible. Construction starts as early as 7 a.m. some days, whether that be someone turning on a bulldozer or whatever. It affects us because it wakes you up, especially if you're living around the bridge. It can be heard very easily, and people who don't have class till 9:45, they shouldn't be forced to wake up earlier because construction starts earlier. So this is an urgent issue. That's why I want to move to waive first reading, and I want to just vote on this as quickly as possible. One other thing, it's a really simple bill. It's not complex at all, and I don't think there'd be much to be changed in committee anyway. So I think it would just be a waste of time for it to go to committee.
Another point for or against, Senator Zitzman.
So I sympathize with all the freshmen who live around the construction because I've been living since August in an apartment complex that has also been subject to constant jackhammering. So I have earplugs that I sleep with and everything. But with that said, I think an argument can be made that every item on the agenda is urgent in one way or another. But the reason we have committee meetings that look at bills a second time is that if we actually want to do something, and I imagine that the sponsor actually wants to accomplish some reduction in noise, we need to make sure that we get it 100% right. So 1 week, I don't think is going to be the make or break of this initiative. And since the criticism that Andrew rightly pointed out is that I think we don't want to spend a million years today. That's all I'll say about it.
All right, another point for or against, Senator Agdepa.
I have a point of inquiry. Which committee would this bill be recommended to?
It would go to campus and student life, most likely.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment that I'm pretty sure the Committee of Campus and Student Life would like to see that this bill does not go through us. A committee reading, like just go to second reading.
Okay, so that's a point for.
Yes.
One more point against, waiving first reading, Senator Hanausch's proxy.
I'm just thinking, like, shouldn't we have like a week to like really investigate this besides just 2 people coming to this meeting, and like maybe we can iron out maybe the details of like what times are we aiming for. It's just like a bit rushed because we're just hearing about this issue today. So I would just like maybe a week to consider it. I don't think too much is gonna happen in a week. So I think that's worth it.
All right. You have a point of inquiry? Debate.
Discussion.
No, debate takes 2 points for and 2 points against. So, all right. Given that, we're going to move to vote. This requires a 2/3 majority to waive first reading. All those in favor of waiving first reading say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay, division is called. All those in favor of waiving first reading, please raise your hand.
Yeah, repeat it, please repeat it.
Okay, all right. All of those in favor.
Can you explain what it does? Because some senators don't understand.
Some senators don't understand what we.
Oh, I guess that's right. All right. I guess that's my bad. Okay, so decorum, delegate, senators. Waiving first reading means that if you pass this motion, you vote for it, we're going to go right into second reading, which means we'll amend it, debate it, and then you'll vote on to adopt it, or whether or not to adopt it. Waiving first reading means it doesn't go through committee, and we're just going to consider right now in this meeting. Does that make sense? Okay. So moving to the vote again. All those in favor of waiving first reading, please raise your hand high enough that I can see it. Okay, all those against? Okay, this does not receive the 2/3 majority. Therefore, the motion fails.
Point of inquiry.
Yes.
Does this have to go to campus and committee on campus and student life? Because talking with some of the senators in this committee, there was consensus that this was a good bill. And I think it would be better off maybe going to another committee if people wanted it. I don't know what other committee it would go to, unless you think that this purview is for this committee.
That's my original intention, but if you want to make a motion to send it to a different committee, you can.
Honestly, it's fine. Just send it our way. It'll just be the same bill.
Okay. Questions for the sponsor? Senator Robbins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The question that I have for the Senator Polinsky is just quite simple. I think this is a very noble cause. I absolutely agree. Definitely straight in the morning. Just my only question is how do you propose to limit the construction? Because if the university has a contract with the construction company or whatever, then that's not very easily amendable, right? So I'm just wondering what sorts of, if you had any ideas as to how you would propose limiting the construction sound or limiting the construction.
So like all things in Senate, we're not sure exactly how it's going to get enforced. But what I can tell you is what my intention was to use this as a mandate to go through the proper administration to talk to them about the problems that are that the freshman class is having with this noise, and hopefully get this 9 a.m. ban passed, or at least in the future have it, because it does talk about future projects, at least in the future have it so that projects can't start until 9 a.m. I don't know, most institutions work on a 9 to 5 day, so I don't know why this institution would have a contract, and I don't think it says in the contract that those people have to start at 7:30 a.m. I think they have a loose contract, and I'm not sure. I think they have a loose contract that tells them that they can start whenever they want, and they choose to start at 7:30 a.m. And while that is their prerogative, it is a hamper on a lot of our sleep. So just to get back to the original intent of the question, I would hopefully work with Cheyenne to probably get in contact with proper administration officials and then talk to them. But I can't do that until this bill is passed.
Mr. Speaker, may I ask a follow-up question?
I'm going to move on to others just because this is first reading. Senator Zitzman.
So with your determination that the contract is loose, have you seen the contract?
I have not, because I don't think I am able to see the contract until I have this bill passed and I have justification then to talk to administration officials. So once the bill's passed, my full intent, this is my first bill, by the way, that I've sponsored by myself and that I actually have a lot of interest in, because it's something that affects a lot of my friends and a lot of the people just in the freshman class, which is the class I'm representing. So if I'm given the opportunity, if this is passed, it will be every intention to go about seeking the proper resources in order to enforce this ban.
Senator Hakami.
So I know, from my own experience of writing bills, I go and talk to administration and different faculty members and different students and clubs before I submit anything, largely just because you want to have that preparation when you come to Senate, just because people do question a lot of who have you talked to, do you have the right information, and what resources can you provide us, especially if you're going to be waiving first reading. That's really critical information to have. So I would just suggest that for next time, your bill at the end of the day is not as important as your voice. I kid you not, writing an email and just saying I'm a senator for the class of 2021 gets you really far. That's what I did. I even went to GW and I asked random professors there who were part of economics departments, and I mentioned that I was in student government at American University, and they're willing to have a conversation.
Is this a question?
Is this a question?
Oh yeah, it is at the end. So I guess my question is why did you decide that necessarily it was with the limited amount of information you had from faculty and administration, different types of organization heads, appropriate to waive first reading with that limited knowledge?
So I have the only resource that I need, and that is me representing the freshman class and me understanding the interests of them. And what I'm doing is representing them, and I know I'm doing it in good faith because this is an issue that's directly affecting them. I believe I couldn't go to administration until I had the backup of the full Senate. Me doing it by myself doesn't do anything. Me doing it with a consensus does a lot more. So while I appreciate your concerns that I might not be doing enough, and I don't appreciate being told that my work ethic is not good enough, because that's what I'm insinuating is happening here.
Questioning has elapsed. Given that, given that this is first reading, we're just going to refer the bill. I think we spend a lot of like too much time on questioning in first reading. That's what committee's for. So one questioning period I think is good enough for these bills moving forward. That way we're not here for 5 or 6 hours at a time. So my initial referral is going to be to campus and student life unless there's a different motion. Okay, without objection, it's going to be referred to campus and student life. All right, cool. Moving on to the next agenda item. The clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Bill 17-18-12, a bill to create a permanent joint committee with the Faculty Senate.
Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
Yes, so just really briefly, there's a lot of stuff that we can't do, but faculty can, and the Faculty Senate is our counterpart with the faculty. So this bill intends to create a system where if we want to communicate with the Faculty Senate, senator to senator, I suppose, there's a conduit for us to do that.
All right, questions for the sponsor? Seeing none. I will refer this to the Committee on Accessibility, Transparency, and Accountability. Without objection. Moving on to the next agenda item. The clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
A bill to create a permanent executive position of Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Okay. Would the sponsors like to speak on this bill?
Yes, so I'm gonna make my part really quick because I think that Yami has the authority to say on this. Sylvia Burwell recently said that change takes time, change takes many hands, and we're committed to change. So I hope you will keep us accountable to this plan. This is a student body keeping the school and the administration accountable to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and therefore change. This executive position, in my belief, and in Yami's belief, should be permanent. It should be mandatory because the school needs it more than anything else, I think. This is a good first step. Would you like to take away the conversation?
Well, yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yamala Pagano. I'm currently the Director of Inclusion in the Executive Cabinet. I was also a fellow senator, so it brings a lot of memories to be here. Thank you for your service. Like, honestly, being here 3 hours is a service. I guess that this bill, and the reason why I support this bill is because it's very important to have somebody in the executive team to bridge the gap that there is with Senate. You have a committee on diversity and inclusion, and I think it's very important that we start bridging those gaps, and by having an executive in the executive team, a person that also focuses on diversity and inclusion, it could bridge that gap on executive and like your branch. So with that also being said, I'm also part of the President Council on Diversity and Inclusion. We always need to have a person, an undergraduate represented at that table. And for those that do not know what the President Council on Diversity and Inclusion is, this is the group of people that advises Burwell's decision on inclusion. So there is representative from faculty, staff, students, graduate students. It's a very comprehensive team of people that are really smart. And I think that that voice needs to come from SG, not only because we're supposed to be represented in those meetings, but it's also because we represent the people, right? So I think that instead of randomly choosing an undergraduate who might not know the ropes and the ways of being, it's better to continue and have somebody from the executive board who can also report to you guys on the things that are happening, because there was a lot of things that were happening in the President Diversity and Inclusion that I would have loved to present to you guys, but my position does not require reporting. With that being said, I'm not excusing myself. I can come in and talk to you guys, but at the same time, it's something that I feel like if we put it on paper, not only are we gonna have a contingency and a legacy, And we need to think about that. You guys all have 4 years here. We all can leave. But if we put this in the bylaws, no president can take it away. And I think that that was your main goal in establishing the committee in Senate. So I don't see why we cannot establish it also in the executive cabinet, just to maintain and make sure that our minority students are heard, and also like people with different like ideologies, because I do meet with a lot of them on my day job. So with that being said, I think that as you guys can see, I laid out sort of what the person will do, and that's based on what I do. I also help out with the Latinx graduation, the Black graduation. Like, you're always part of those conversations and what you are, and like what you do. And it also gives you great friends, and you know, it's a family. And I think we're trying, as my job, I always try to increase collaboration, because I think it's a huge important thing. And not only collaboration between minority communities, but also collaboration between Senate and like the executive board. Because I'm not gonna lie, like I think this dog to dog and like I'm gonna go and get executive branch, like that's not a healthy way of seeing things. And don't get me wrong, please do make us accountable for what we do. But I also want you guys to know who we are, not only as the executive branch, but also as people and what we stand for. Because just like all of you guys, we also serve our people, and we also care a lot about this school. So with that being said, I hope that you guys pass this and include the Director of Diversity and Inclusion in the bylaws. Woo.
Questions for the sponsor? Seeing Secretary Schneider.
I just have a question about the last part. Who decides, is AUSG consulted in who gets the student appointment to the PCDI?
So I talked to Kayleen, and yes, so there's always 2 undergraduate representatives. One can always come from SG. So that's sort of a conversation that I had with Kayleen, and that's sort of why I'm so pressed to make it a legacy, so that then she always just have to find another counterpart in the undergraduate community, and then it would just be SG and another member of the undergraduate community who can sit on PCDI, but usually they go through screening. So Kylene asks a lot of questions and sort of like, what have you done around campus and so on and so forth. So it's also not like a given position. So this also helps us sort of make sure that whoever we choose as Director of Inclusion, whoever the next president is, needs to pick a person who's responsible and who cares about this issue, rather than just like, yo, I just want to do this job. You know what I mean? So I think that I talked to Kayleen, and that was the consensus sort of that I got from her. And when Taylor appointed me, that was sort of my segue. Like, it was like, you were in PCDI, and before me, it was Lauren, and she was also in PCDI, and she's actually my counterpart in PCDI. So
I have a follow-up.
Yeah.
So I think would you be open to changing that language so that it would be that the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, that the president of AUSG should make the appointment for this position, keeping PCDI in mind, so that, just because the way it's phrased makes it sound like we directly control PCDI.
Okay.
In my opinion, just to like make it more clear that the president should make the appointment with PCDI in mind.
I think that's perfect. I'm open for the change.
Just because like we're not going to be here to explain what that means.
Okay.
Other questions for the sponsor? All right, seeing none, this will be referred to the Committee on Rules and Privileges without objection. Moving on to the next agenda item, the clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Bill 17-18-14, a bill to establish accessible and affordable emergency contraception on campus.
Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good Sunday. This is a project I've been working on a lot last semester, and something I'm really excited to bring forth to the Senate. So basically, it's just a project to make sure that there's not only like affordable but accessible emergency contraception, and kind of move away from people just being able to access it through the health center and through having that copay as well on campus, and possibly having it in different areas on campus, such as like the pod or like some other designated area that we want to have, whatever like we think will just be like appropriate and like possibly more private and just like respectful. And it's just to make sure that everyone is like healthy and people have that access, because there's also people who possibly like can't use condoms or they can't use other forms of birth control for various reasons or can't access it. So this is something that's pretty commonly used on college campuses and commonly needed. So I wanted to make sure that we could start, we could pass this through Senate and possibly start allocating funds if needed to. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Questions for the sponsor? Senator Hop.
Okay, I just have two questions. Number one would be, so would student government or like the university administration be providing the funds, or like would we split that that cost burden? And then number two would be, sorry, I'm blanking. Yeah, just that question for now.
Yeah, I think that's like still up for debate. I think like a lot of it has to do with like kind of working with like with POD, because there's a problem with them not being able to provide emergency contraception in the POD as opposed to like CVS or like Rite Aid. So like it's mostly if we can just kind of like work with POD to have that just part of like their part of like just things they buy and like sell at the POD. And if we need to have like a separate area for if POD doesn't want to like sell emergency contraception, then I think we would look into yes, AUSG possibly like looking into restricted to pay for that voucher.
Senator Najafi.
I know it can be like taboo to talk about things like this, but do you mean Plan B like specifically, or
Yeah.
do you mean okay? If can I ask that you like make it more clear in the bill, like
Yeah.
what you're talking about specifically?
Yeah.
Because like I think that like people could look at this and think a lot of different things. So I would just say like making the language more understandable.
Yeah, thank you.
Senator Hakami.
Point of inquiry, but am I allowed to just say a little statement on the importance of this?
If you form it in a question.
Sure.
Just put a question mark.
Yeah.
Say question mark.
Question mark? I'll just raise my voice.
That doesn't make it a question.
So actually, yeah, I know. So actually, last year I had some like a little bit of like personal like I guess information, but I actually had to use Plan B and I didn't have any money in my wallet besides maybe $10, and I had to like scramble to find a way to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. And yeah, it's like very expensive. It's $60 or $50 right now. And that's really unaffordable for most students. I have $3 in my bank account. I literally just checked. So imagine if somebody was in that situation and they're a student at American University and they clearly are in the same financial situation as me and many other people. But also like, you're really right to point out that contraceptives, like most people don't even understand the different types of contraceptives. Right now, like I think the school kind of draws attention to two different types of birth control pills, Yaz and Yasmin, which unfortunately is my name. It's really sad. No, the saddest thing is it's also used infection medication, and they're being sued for basically causing birth defects. So yeah, guys. Anyway, so that's like the information we have right now for birth control pills, and also most condoms people are like allergic to latex, and then it just itself like can cause like UTIs because of unsanitary cleansing. So I think it's kind of the schools. I think it should be a really important thing for the school to lower the cost of Plan B since it's safe, it's a pill, it's not in the same situation of like Yaz and Yaz, but if you're getting sued. And yeah, so would you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And to speak more on that, like thank you so much for just a testimony, because I think like it is something that possibly isn't talked about, because sometimes it is like stated as more of a private matter, but it's something so common on college campuses and just something that people don't think about, because when they think like, oh, they're probably on birth control already, they can just use a condom. And there's just a lot of obstacles that people don't think about, like does their healthcare provide birth control they can use? Do their parents like approve of birth control? Is that like something in their household that they don't approve of, and they wouldn't have access to that without like notifying their parents? And it's something just like people who are assigned female at birth, just like all these obstacles that we have to navigate just to live our college lives. And so I just think making sure that like it's so much dread, like it's like the worst feeling in the world, and it's not fun for anybody, but it's just making sure that people feel safe.
Oh, my bad. Questioning has expired. Without objection, this bill is going to be referred to the Committee on Campus and Student Life.
What
Moving
committee is
on.
that? Sorry, what committee is that going to?
Campus and student life.
Okay.
Moving on to the next agenda item, the clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Directive 17-18-004, a directive to fix Directive 17-18-001.
I think it's modified, but would the sponsor like to speak on the directive?
Yeah, so this is just, if you guys remember, the first directive we passed last semester was to move $2,000 for the Thanksgiving meal program, and Chris, the secretary, notified me earlier today that we didn't use all of that 2,000, so I just wanted to modify that directive to move the amount that we spent, which is that like 866.43 or whatever. Because the money apparently hasn't actually been moved yet, so we can just modify that directive.
Questions for the sponsor? Senator Zitzman.
So as far as I can see, this directs that the other directive be modified, but does it have the effect of putting the money back in the account we want it to be?
Right, so I was originally gonna make it like move the money back into capital maintenance, which is where we took the money from. But Chris told me that we just spent out of SG General without actually moving it from capital maintenance, so we'd have to modify the directive and not do a reimbursement.
Okay.
I can speak more about it if you want.
Do you have a question?
What do you have to say?
Basically just echoing what Senator Hawks said. I checked our online budget ledger, and the reason that I thought of this was because I was looking through the budget and capital maintenance hasn't been touched. So we didn't move the money formally. So I thought that while we haven't moved the money, why don't we just correct this now so that we don't have to move it and then move it back. So it has the same effect of moving it back.
Questions for the sponsor? All right, seeing none, we'll move to discussion. Any discussion or debate on the directive? Seeing none, we will move to vote on the directive. All those in favor of adopting Directive 17-18-004, a directive to modify Directive 17-18-001, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. It is adopted. All right. Any other new business? All right, moving on to old business. The clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Policy Book 17-18-004, a policy book to update the elections policy book.
Is there would the sponsors like to speak on the bill or the policy book? Senator Kami or Hawk?
Yeah, so it's basically pretty much the only thing we changed was clarifying the provision that talks about campaign materials. So, and I think Iman's gonna add another amendment right now to say that that provision only applies to campaign materials that are regulated under the finance provisions of the EPB. So that's just to make sure that no one is unjustly called out for posting stuff.
All right. Questions for the sponsor? All right, so now we'll move to discussion and debate on the policy book. Any points of debate or discussion? Senator Legitimity's proxy.
Sorry, I just want a motion to give Elections Commissioner DeGoe speaking rights. Can't think to say.
Okay. There's a motion to grant speaking rights to to Elections Commissioner DeGoe.
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. All right. Elections Commissioner.
So I just want to reiterate at the beginning of the debate for this bill how important it is that we get this passed, especially with the upcoming special election. A lot of stuff in this bill are loopholes, are just necessary name updates, things suggested from everyone from student activities to senators to previous JSEP boards, things that just need to be fixed in the elections policy book. Through running the election last semester, I could very much tell a lot of these things that need to be changed, and that would be a huge issue going forward to not have corrected. And I believe that this bill in particular goes over quite a few of those very glaring issues and will help to make future elections smoother and better for everyone involved. I'm happy to answer any questions that people have.
All right, other points of debate or discussion. Secretary Schneider?
What was the resolution to the abstention thing? Is it the same as last week where they're not going to count towards the total?
I think it's the same because CRP didn't change that.
And to clarify what we changed it to.
It's at the bottom.
Yeah,
Wait,
sorry, I don't understand. Like last week I had to clarify.
Okay, so you,
Okay, let me pull it off.
Yeah,
So it doesn't count, okay.
Yeah, so.
Senator Legitimacy proxy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so the reason we don't have abstain count is because effectively what's happening with abstain was that if it counts as part of the vote total, it's basically just another way of saying no. Where we saw abstain should be, you don't want to cast a vote in that specific race. That's why I put none of these candidates option on the ballot, just so that way, like that made more sense to count since you're saying like, you don't like any of the candidates, but you want to have a say in that race. State of Nevada actually does it. They're big fans of it. So.
Senator Zitzman?
If I could ask Senator Legitimacy's proxy, what happens if none of these candidates win?
As I understand, I don't think the EPB says you need a majority to win. I think it's just whichever candidate gets the most votes.
Okay.
It depends on the kind of election, right? Okay. So with certain candidates, for certain types of candidacies, mostly anyone appearing on the ballot, they simply need to win a majority of votes cast. So there will be someone that wins, except as you mentioned unless a tie happens, in which case there's a whole special election thing. The abstentions question really comes into issue in two specific circumstances: in the circumstance of a write-in candidate and in the circumstance of a referendum campaign. In which case, write-in candidates need to pass a certain threshold of number of votes cast, and referendum campaigns, especially those changing AUSG bylaws, need to pass a certain number of votes passed. And the only reason why abstentions become an issue is purely a technical issue, and that the way that OIT has set a ballot that we use, abstain is essentially just another button that you click that counts as a candidate, quote unquote, named abstain, and therefore is thrown in there as a vote cast. I'm not sure it was ever intended to be that way in the policy book, but this just clarifies that as a separate issue.
Other points of debate or discussion on the policy book? Senator Legitimacy's proxy?
I want to amend.
Okay.
I emailed you the amendment, basically just further clarifying an issue raised in CRP about
Is it this one?
No, I should have sent a second one. There you go. Where there was concern that like people posting on Facebook could be counted as part of this, so we just added that new section saying as regulated and defined by the reporting requirements in Article 4, Section 3. That's basically the campaign finance section. So that way, this stuff only applies to campaign material that has to be reported.
So this
and therefore we
amends the
spend money
same-
on it. So Facebook posts when we count there.
This amends the same section,
Yeah,
which is
Article 4, Section 5, Subsection 3. There you go.
this one?
Yes, that's.
Oh, the changes didn't transfer over.
Oh, yeah.
Only with one. But okay, they still count because CRP went through it.
Right.
So this is the new.
Yeah, so CRP approved everything that's in yellow, and then the blue is
the new amendment.
Right.
Okay. Cool. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Okay. Is there a second to the blue amendment?
Second.
There's a second. Okay. Discussion or debate on the amendment? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of adopting what is in blue to amend the amendment to the policy book, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Okay. No, this is all. Okay, so back to the policy book as a whole. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none. even though I have amendments in my email. We're good? Do I need to call people out? All right, if there's no other discussion on the policy book, then we will move to vote. All those in favor of adopting policy book 1718-004, which is anything in yellow, which either adds or amends the current elections policy book, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. All right, policy book is adopted. You can clap. I don't know who started clapping, but
No more campaign harassment.
I mean, when you pass legislation, you can clap. Okay. Moving on. The clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Bill 17-18-009, a bill to recognize and support AU's transgender community.
Okay, would the sponsors like to speak on this bill?
Sure. So we have already started advocating a lot of what this bill entails, and the first step is to just get these specific commitment to consent flyers mandated in every frat house. And then I've set up a meeting with HRL to talk about section, I believe it's like B of, part B of section 1. So let me pull it up real quick. And so I'm going to be meeting with them soon and talking about the different ways to get that worked out, but I see a really large possibility of it happening. Honestly, I would just hope that everyone can just vote for this, because I'm in the middle of already doing a lot of it anyway with Eric, and I really just don't see any issues.
Questions for the sponsor? Senator Polinsky?
I was wondering if you had the chance, I haven't spoken to you about this yet, to look at the suggestions that our committee made to you guys. I emailed you and Eric. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I actually just saw the questions. I am going to take note of them. I've been frantically running around doing homework and just setting up meetings, so I haven't necessarily had all the time in the world, but I'll definitely take them into consideration.
Yeah. Other questions? Seeing none, we'll move into debate. Any points of discussion or debate on this bill? Senator Polinsky.
So I think this is a great bill. I'm going to be voting on it. I just wanted to reiterate our concerns that we had in committee, and also for the future that when a bill does come out of committee, I hope that people look at our suggestions, because I think that our committee worked hard on Saturday to grind out some suggestions. And while we didn't make specific amendments because we didn't want to change the entire intention of the bill, we do hope that people look at our suggestions and take them into account.
Senator Kami?
I looked at your suggestions. It's in front of my face right now, and I looked at them yesterday, and there will be concerns I'll bring up to HRL, and they've been taken into consideration, as I just stated 2 minutes ago. I wanted to stay at the meeting yesterday, but I had a scheduled meeting with the Inter-Greek Fraternity Life organization, so I couldn't. But I don't know how else to tell you that I literally read this, and I will definitely take it into consideration. So your words in your email were not taken for granted.
Other points of debate or discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All of those in favor of adopting Bill 17-18-009 say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. This bill is adopted. All right, moving to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak at this time?
Oh, great job, everybody. This is like the fastest meeting I've ever said in Senate. This is incredible. Great job. And you guys, I mean, I'm graduating in May, but I'm always more
Listen, senators.
I'm always more than glad to collaborate with any of you guys. So if any of you guys have any concerns, questions on the inclusive plan that President Burwell just threw out, that was my entire bulk of my work last semester, so I can answer some questions there. Please go to the February 8th event that she's having to explain this. And yeah, no, I am really excited to see a more inclusive AU, so feel free to reach out as always.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
I thought we had 2 more items on, to do.
No, because those 2 items did not make it out of committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, but wasn't there something also added to the end of old business, before we adopted the agenda?
No.
Sophia, I think, didn't you add something? Okay, never mind.
Okay. Any other members of the public wish to speak? All right, moving good of the order. Any executive good of the order? Secretary Schneider.
Okay, a couple things. On something like Senator Polinsky's bill about the noise, I think an initiative like that is great, but I think that I agree with like Senator Tommy. I think that something like that is a perfect example of an initiative that doesn't require legislation. And I'm going to come to your committee and talk more about this, but I think that, we have voices as student representatives, and I think the administration takes our voices more seriously than we all kind of think, on an individual basis. I think we're able to leverage our voices individually, and we don't need like the Senate, the administration doesn't look at an individual senator versus the entire Senate differently at the end of the day, because you're the one setting up a meeting, you're the one taking time out of your day to talk to them, and they're going to take you seriously no matter what. And like a prime example is during my freshman year, I wasn't even a senator. I was the deputy director of public communication, which was an unappointed position, like not confirmed position within the secretary's cabinet. And I was the student representative for UPass. And Senate didn't touch UPass until right before the student referendum that came out about it. So like, I didn't need Senate's backing in order to have my voice heard in those like communications with the university and Metro for like 3 months. So I think that just in general, and I think that this bill is a great like way for me to talk about this, is that the university takes our voice seriously, and you should all know that. You should know that you can just approach a university administrator, whether it's somebody in student activities or Office of Campus Life, Facilities Management, who would be the concerning office for this. Anybody, they all listen to us. You can set up a meeting with almost anybody. They're not going to say no, and they're not going to say yes. They're not going to say yes anymore because you have a bill. So I would just say that use your voice because you have it. On the issue of the special election, because I know that that's still on people's minds, I still believe that it would be unconstitutional to try and go around the special election. That being said, I think it would be in order, or a personal suggestion would be that we should examine potential changes to the Constitution going forward so that we're not required to have a special election right before the spring election. I think a change such as in the fall semester, it's solved through a special election. In the spring semester, there's an appointment made by Senate. And over the summer, the interim president would stay until the first Senate meeting. And I believe that that should be taken up by student government as a noble cause in the spring election when we have referenda. But as it stands right now, I believe it would be unconstitutional to try and get around it. And I think that if we kind of I think there could be a case made for it, but I think it would be on very shaky ground, and I wouldn't want to put us in a position where we could set a negative precedent where out of convenience or any other intent, we try and get around future special elections. So definitely will participate in any changes going forward, but as it stands now, that's how I feel and others feel.
Other executive good of the order? Moving on to Senator good of the order. Any senators for the good of the order? Senator Zitzman?
The Commission on Creating a Unified Student Government Code will be meeting tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Chris looks excited, so I hope all the senators who are on the commission can come, at least who fill out, that they can come for that time, and President and Secretary too. So it's going to be a fun time.
Other good of the order.
Where will that be, Bob?
Oh, it's in the Senate office, yeah.
Other good of the order. Senator Burgess.
Hi, everybody. I just encourage all senators here and people of our student government to come out tonight and support RHA. They're hosting the Super Bowl in the Perch. They tend to support, tailgate party. Yeah, good food and stuff like that. I'm not a part of RHA. I'm just like saying that out there, just like for away, having fun with everybody.
Are non-residents able to attend? What did you say, Chris? Are non-residents able to attend?
No. Carl, Senator Kami.
I just wanted to say that I talked to my friend Josie actually yesterday, and she wanted me to say something about how everyone at AU views student government, and so I thought, you know what, why not? I'll just mention what she thinks. So this is really toxic, guys. Sometimes I actually hate being here. I'm gonna just keep it real. Like, ever since I first joined this club, it's been really, really hard, and I just wanted to get shit done, and I get accused of stuff, and people harass me, and people talk back about it. I don't really know. And I think if we don't fix the toxicity, I just want to let everyone know I'm actually going to resign. Not now, but if we don't, like, I will actually resign. I kid you not. I think a lot of other people will as well, because it's not a joke. I'm not here to sit down and have people accuse me of crap that I didn't do, or label me with names, or show up and write shit on my door and rip my pictures off and grope me at parties and humiliate me and make me feel like I'm not human for wanting to just do something good. I don't really know what everyone can do, but like, just do whatever you wrote on that one graphic you created on the Senate campaign we ran a few months ago. Just like follow whatever commitments you made to the elected people or people who elected you, and just like F off of other individuals trying to do their job. Because if it continues, I will literally turn this in. Like, I'm done. I have no more like mental, I can't. I don't have the fortitude. I'm one human being. I've dealt with so much in one semester, barely. And it's gotten to a point where it's like, I can't, you know? And it's gross and it's wrong. And I'm pretty sure I'm not alone on this, since I think a lot of us sitting in here hate this organization right now. But I think that we can still do a lot of good. And that's why I'm never going to stop believing in student government. And I still stand by my word that this club is easily the best thing that's ever happened to me at AU. Easily. So yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with this right now, but I'm just gonna end this awkwardly.
Director Prayana.
I just have to say thank you for your service. I think that's something, like, a lot of people use the term house of cards. We're not, and I know that as student leaders we try to out each other, and that's like seems okay. But to believe it or not, you need to think about your time beyond AU. Right? Like, the people that you're currently working with could possibly be your colleagues at one point or another in your life. It could be a long-term friends that you can meet outside and go for a happy hour. So instead of trying to out each other, you guys should empower each other, because a voice together and a collaborative environment would actually come out better than you trying to opt somebody out. Because at the end of the day, AU is just one little segment of your entire life. You understand what I mean? And then student government is an even smaller segment of your entire life. So listen, like, I'm in the executive branch, I was in Senate, I hear all of the drama, all of it, and I decided to stay away from it. But I can't, when somebody says stuff like that, it really hurts me, because honestly, you guys have the power to change this school together. Not trying to opt somebody out because I'm trying to run for president senior year. Guess what? I have never been a president, and I think that my voice has been heard on this campus, like Chris said, and I don't need to have the president title. If you really want to make a change, you don't need a title. You just need your voice and people that back you up. That's all you need. You need to create accountability, because guess what? Administration listens to students who do their homework. So do your homework before you present something. Really. Think about it. Be like, I want to do X. How can I do it? What are other universities doing? You know, there's universities that have student government that are also like us, who are trying to pass legislation. See what the best practices are in those schools. But don't try to out each other. Because I'm gonna tell you something, when you go out there, you never know who your boss is gonna be. You never know who your friend is gonna be. And you definitely do not know who's gonna extend that hand when you're most in need. So instead of talking crap about each other behind each other's back, I'll suggest you start supporting each other. Because right here in this room, we might have future senators, we might have future CEOs, we might have future CFOs. I'm just saying LinkedIn was created for a reason. And I'm pretty sure you are all friends on LinkedIn, right? So not only be friends on LinkedIn, take the opportunity that we're next to each other and be like, hey, how was your day? You know what I mean? And instead of trying to go out for the executive board, listen to your constituency. Like if your constituency does not allow you to do something, just don't do it. But if they do, then do it. Don't just try to look at the executive board and try to out us because for some odd reason, like I'm not saying if we're doing something wrong, please call us out. That's what accountability is there for, and that's why your body exists. But at the same time, don't be looking just for things to opt somebody out because you literally never know who's gonna extend that hand at the end of the day. I'm sorry that has happened to you. I'm with you. And if you ever need to talk, I'm here for
you. Senator Kochman.
Just to echo that, I like the happy hour point. I think that just to be honest, like I am like I don't know, I have like a Shirley Temple. I just think that we all need to remember that like this is like, you know, this is almost like we're our own little frat. Like this is fun. Like, this is a cool. All right. No, I genuinely want to articulate that like I like hanging out with you guys. There's nothing that I'd rather be doing on a Sunday from noon to whatever than doing this. So like, let's hang out. Like, let's do something. Let's organize a little like just fun get-togethers where we don't have to like actually talk about SG, but we can hang out with SG people. So like,
that should be a bill, FYI.
A bill to mandate Senate happy hours. Like, I'm down. Let's do it.
Senator Good of the Order, Senator Robbins.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for confirming me today. I hope that besides doing proud by all of you who have put your trust in me, that I'll also do good by the students who I will be representing. I'm looking forward to serving, and I use that word because I think it's really what we do, serving with all of you. I'm looking forward to having my key card open up the Senate office. But most importantly, I'm looking forward to doing some real good with everybody in this time where I think people need to be looking at their student government and seeing that they can trust in them and that we can come together and actually do some really wonderful, amazing things. So thank you.
Yes, Secretary Schneider.
I just want to go back to like Senator Tommy's point, because like, yeah, we finished like laughing and talking about Senate happy hour, but the reality of the situation is that this is a toxic environment a lot of the time. And yeah, like a Senate happy hour and other stuff like that, and like laughing at the end of Senate meetings can play a part in making us a more tolerable environment and a better environment. But at the end of the day, we're historically a toxic organization that has historically deeply affected the mental health of our members. I've seen it on a very personal level. People have come close to doing things that should never happen to begin with. And on account of student government, a club in college is unthinkable. And honestly, I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed that it happened while I was a member of this organization. I think that it is not a question of whether we take ourselves too seriously. We take ourselves too seriously 100% of the time. We're a club. We are a club. We are the largest club, and we are the only club charged with representing over 7,000 undergraduate voices. And with that, it comes a responsibility to not be toxic, to not drive people away from us, to not drive people to do things that could end them up in the hospital or worse. It's ridiculous. The fact that like one time I took a week, I went home to New Jersey just to get away from student government. Some people can't do that. Some people are stuck here. It's honestly ridiculous. And we don't talk about it enough. We continuously, since my freshman year and before, we've talked about a culture change, changing the culture of student government. It hasn't happened. People are still leaving because they hate it. I don't know what else we need to change. People leave student government all the time. People resign constantly. People resign from executive cabinets. People resign from Senate. People resign from J-Board and JSEP because they can't take it anymore, because we're intolerable. And I don't know the solution. I think suggestions like Senate happy hour and, being able to take ourselves less seriously and talk in a non-student government way to each other, I think, Yami said, we're all friends on LinkedIn. And we're also all friends on Facebook. We see what each other go through in our personal lives, more so than people 10 years ago or 5 years ago. We know what we're going through. So I think, and then kind of going back to the beginning of the meeting, Joyce's point, empathy. It takes empathy. And it's not empathizing necessarily with members of the public, our constituents, it's empathizing with each other. It's easy to say, oh, you don't know what I'm going through. We know what a lot of us are going through. We can see it. And even if it's something invisible, just assume that what you're saying could hurt somebody. And there's like no filter in student government. I'm not saying that we should hold our words back necessarily, but just take into account what you're saying and how that can have a profound impact on somebody's worldview and how they view their own life. And how they view their position in American University and in AUSG. Because we're a club charged with representing the collective views of 7,000 undergraduates. If you're not doing that, then I don't know what you're doing here. And I know that all the people in this room, from as far as I know, because I've worked with you for at least 4 months, and for many of you longer, I know that all of you in this room are deeply committed to that, but we need to cut everything else out because we don't have time and the mental capacity to be able to continuously deal with drama. Drama, drama, drama. I wake up every day and say, what's the drama going to be today? My office hours are significantly cut this year versus last year. And that's because I'm more busy as an individual, but I would also have more standing office hours if it meant I would get something, I would enjoy office hours. My job is mostly remote. I do most of my stuff on my own time. So food for thought. I would love to talk more about what we can do, like tangible things that we can do to change our culture, because it's more than just treating each other better. I think we can do things that are practical in order to change our culture, and I would love to spearhead that with other people, because as of now, I probably won't be involved in this organization next year for my senior year, but I would love to, because this organization has defined my American University experience. If you asked, I was in a triple freshman year. If you asked both my roommates what I was like for the month before I joined AUSG, it was a quiet person who didn't really have that many friends, who didn't talk, and I didn't go to anything. And look at me now, I'm an AUSG secretary, 2-term. And whether the first term happened by accident or not, whatever. But, well, I mean, the first term happened because of a toxic environment, because the secretary resigned. And there's a lot of different stories about why that happened. But what it comes down to is there was a toxic environment, no matter who caused it. And, but yeah, I would love to be a part of this organization for a 4th and final year of my AU experience. But as of now, I'm not willing to continue to have the mental strain of being part of something that I believe, the mental strain of it. I think we have a net impact on campus, but personally, it's very draining.
Senator Polinsky?
So I feel like part of this lays on me, why the Senate's gotten such a toxic environment the last couple weeks. And first off, I just want to apologize. I guess last week I ran out of the Senate meeting because I felt awkward is probably the only way to describe it. I've met Christine before. We're actually both in the honors program. She was one of the first people I met here when I did an overnight in April. She talked to me about coming here. I don't know if you remember that or not. Vaguely, okay. But I have a lot of respect for Christine and the rest of the exec board. And the way I acted last week, while I still think I may have been in the right, I think I was lacking empathy. And so I want to apologize to you guys if I offended you in any way or if I did anything offensive. I truly want to apologize. And then second off, I think last week, how that transpired with that hour-long argument is the only way I have to describe it, kind of set the scene for this last couple of weeks to have this toxic environment. So I just want to personally let you guys know that I'm going to try to hit a reset button. I know I've made quite a few enemies in the last couple weeks, and I feel like I personally divided that vote. Literally last week was 9-11, and those 11 and those 9 felt very strongly either way. And I don't think we've moved on from that, and I think we've continued to divide ourselves because of that. So I want to apologize for that. I do want to move on from that, and I want to let you guys know that no matter what you think of me, if you think that I have this hard shell around me that is looking out to get people, like, that's not me. I want to work with everyone. I want to work with you guys. I'm an outsider from SG. I ran a campaign primarily to address the construction and for noise complaint reform because people were angry that they were getting so many noise complaints and they had to have meetings with community directors. And that's the next bill that I'm working on. And while that might not be as rewarding as some of these other bills, those were bills that meant a lot to me. And that's why I joined. And I don't want to lose track of that, but I feel like I have lost track of that because there's been so much drama. So for now on, an initiative that I'm going to take on, that I hope the rest of the Senate can take on, is using the Facebook group more, letting each other know when a bill's coming down the pipeline or when a resolution's coming down the pipeline. Because the reason I reacted so poorly last week, and the reason that my behavior was like that was because I was blindsided by that resolution, and I felt like it was a way to sneak things through, which it may have not have been. That resolution may have been crafted an hour before, and that could be me making up my own personal thing. But I think if we all use that Facebook group and let each other know what's coming up, we'll just operate more efficiently first off, but also have a lot more respect for each other. And these rumors just won't happen, because if something is not put in that Facebook group and is not told that it's coming through, then we'll know someone was being sneaky. But I don't think anyone has the intention to be sneaky here. And I just want to get rid of that toxicity. It's just like insane. Like, this whole meeting was miserable for me. I felt like people were coming at me, and really, I don't think anyone was coming at me. I think I just have that reaction because it is SG. So just in summary, I really just want to apologize, and I hope we can start anew almost, and hopefully a happy hour will make that happen.
Montreal 21.
Yeah.
A virgin, virgin coffee.
Look around, there's not a lot of the old people in the room. Like, most of you guys are new, and that says something about the culture. Like, I'm pretty sure that Chris, me, Christine are the oldest folks at AU SG right now, and that's not okay. Just saying. No, she's like, am I?
I'm new.
You're new too? You see, even she's new. You just doing your job so well that I thought you had years here.
Senator Hakami.
Yeah, I think also a lot of what we need to address is that we do have different working styles, and that can get complicated. I know some of us work faster, some of us maybe want to take more time, some of us want to do a more, parliamentarian procedural route. Some of us want to do a little bit more of an abstract type of advocacy. Whatever, I don't even know. Whatever your type of leadership is, don't hate on other people who do other stuff. Also, I feel like we all need to stop thinking that everyone's scheming. This term scheming is so stupid. We're all 18, 19, 20. We're probably scheming about how to get our parents to give us more money. Whether or not we want to get out of meeting at TDR. I don't even freaking know. Also, I think when the meetings are over, everyone just shut up about other people. Go to your rooms, go to your job. I don't freaking know. Just stop talking about people. If people are who cares? Susan sitting back there is probably just gonna go, walk a dog. Stop talking about Susan's life. Yeah, I don't know. She might exist, but
I thought you
I didn't want to use anyone as an example. Also, I think everyone needs to I'm just gonna keep it clear, honest about everything, because there's a very high likelihood that I actually might be resigning because I really can't handle it anymore. But we need to stop shaming people for trying to work hard. Just because somebody's doing crap and that might bother somebody, get over it. There's more serious issues in this world. We need to stop hating on people who have friends who are also in student government. Since when is it a crime to have a friend? You know, these aren't coalitions we're making. We're just creating unity. And if you want to be a part of that group, just come and ask someone to go to the DAV with you. You know, it's not some sort of schemy type of thing. Start talking to kids about AUSG. Nobody freaking knows what we're doing, and that's a problem. I've started doing like live streams and videos with Lucas Anderton. Also, I'm doing like a live stream next week with this one guy who I like randomly hit up on Facebook who has a fixed tuition initiative, and we're gonna just be doing that. If you want to join, like come to Farragut North with me. I don't know. Like, what else? There's so much other stuff. Like, do something else besides AUSG. I'm gonna try like rushing maybe, because I realize that a lot of my friends are in this club and I love a lot of them, but also I cannot be talking about AUSG like all the freaking time. Like it's actually so gross. I don't care anymore. I really don't. So Farzana, I might be rushing for your sorority, just to shout out. I don't know, and I guess more importantly, like be effective, efficient with your time, and you're efficient with your time at these meetings. Don't do like these long ass conversations about one amendment. It's one amendment, it's first reading, everyone get over it. There's like so much wrong. I'm sorry, I can go on and on, but point being is I think everyone just needs to get a grip and move on with their lives, because this is a few hours of our day. This is one freaking club, and at the end of the day, that list of amendments should be longer. Just saying. Everyone
Senator Adams.
All I have to say is that, Yasmin, you're doing great work. We all love you. Please don't resign.
But also do what you want for your mental health.
Senator Chen.
Sorry, I know we're all trying to leave, so I'll make this like short. But I also think it's very important to like obviously consider all we want and be like, oh, like let's get rid of the toxicity in AUSG, like let's all be friends, like yeah. But at the end of the day, like a lot of us like are fake in the sense that like after this meeting in Jersey, we're gonna go and be like, oh, like so and so said that, and so said that, so we're gonna call our friends because like no receipts, right? And we're like, oh my god, like you won't believe what happened. Like I hate this. Or sorry, I hate this person. Because like whatever, like, and I think like. I think that we can say a lot about like some happy hour. We can say a lot about like all of us like getting along and not like bullying each other and calling each other out. But like, I think it's important to keep ourselves accountable in the sense like we do have personal relationships with people in SG, and like sometimes that gets in the way of always being friends with everyone. And like it's important to also like check yourself in terms of like what you're saying about other people, because that can be just as hurtful as like what you're calling them out in public or in Senate meetings.
Senator Hanash's proxy.
So like I'm technically a senator today, but like I'm really just a member of the public. To Senator Hakami, like please don't resign again. Like do what's best for your mental health, but please do not resign. Like the stuff you're doing with the transgender protections, like I'm gay and I just joined a fraternity and like that's gonna tangibly help me. Senator Pentar with the contraception issue, like that's an amazing thing. So just please like keep doing what you're doing, because like you can do some real good. The House of Cards stuff, don't do it. Like I think like, and like you have a really bad reputation on campus, yes. But like if you keep doing stuff like that, and when you leave the school, you should be able to say as a member of AUSG that you did some real good, like you had something. And like it's gonna be tough. You're gonna have a lot of issues. Like Chris, when you leave AUSG, when you leave the school, you're gonna be able to say you did a lot of good. You did the UPass. That should be every single one of these senators' goals. To be able to say that. If you can't say that, then just resign. Like. Andrew. No. Andrew, the noise issues. You ran on that, and that's important stuff. That's quality of life stuff. And you are a senator, and you should be able to use your platform as a senator. Maybe it's through passing legislation here, or maybe you can just send an email to Housing and Residence Life or whoever it is in the administration and say, hey, I'm a senator, let's do a meeting and let's do this. You all have a platform, take advantage of it, do something with that and make it. So this is my only time I'll ever be a senator again. So good job, everyone.
Senator Legitimacy's proxy.
Yeah, so same, I'm not
As you all know, I'm not actually a senator, so I can't do a lot of what you guys can do. But I really wanted two brief things. First, was echoing something Yasmin said, which was that first reading takes way too long. Like, remember, there's a committee process and second reading. Please, for your own sake, to leave more of your Sunday free, just refer bills to committee and deal with them in committee and second reading. Second thing was that, so a lot of you guys wanted the CRP meeting. I don't know why it would be. And a lot of the trouble that's done today was that basically public comment at CRP turned into a bunch of accusations being hurled, character attacks. Like, there was no reason for it. And I just want to encourage this body to explore not making that happen again. I mean, you don't want to limit free speech, but at the same time, like, what happened wasn't okay. And I don't want to go specifics, but if there's a way to, make sure public comment stays on topic, that would be great. Just want to encourage them to explore that.
Senator Martine's proxy.
Hi, my name's Alex. Okay. I just want to say thank you for having me today. Relating back to Yasmin's point about getting involved in other things besides SG, I think is very important. And since I think you are all interested in policy, I'm the communications director for ADEMS, and on Thursday we're having our introduction to policy workshops. We would love to see you out there talking policy and getting so thanks everybody. Thanks for having me.
Other senator good of the order? Okay, I'm going to say one last thing. I think what was said here, I don't need to repeat much of it because I think everyone gets the point of what's going on. But like, I also understand, and I have very similar sentiments as Secretary Schneider, especially since it's like my second year going into this. But I know at the same time that, being a returning member of AUSG, along with the executive board and some of the senators who are here again, we are working to, like, we see the problems, and I know, at least I'll speak on myself, that we are trying to fix them as much as possible. Like, I believe in this organization. That's why I came back. That's why I wasn't discouraged when I lost my election. Like, I'm here to see this organization improve and do fantastic work because I already see it happening and I want to help you carry that forward. I think the one thing, like, yes, we are around each other a lot in terms of student government, but that doesn't mean we always have to talk about student government stuff. Like, I have found out recently that I'm a very good therapist. So.
Oh my God! One time I'm in there for 2.5 hours talking my feelings, and now
like, I wasn't going to call out anyone, but. So, but like, besides that, like, just feel free to talk to other people about other things in student government, like. And don't be afraid to reach out to someone else. And like, if you have problems, like, talk to us. Because like, if we can provide you anything, it's, our insight. And if you get someone else's input on things, like, it's very good to talk about what you're feeling. Don't keep it up and don't keep it pent up inside of you. Especially like, I always fall back on that, especially being a public health major. I am very concerned with mental health and the health of, especially the senators and student government people, but also just everyone on campus. So keep up the work, keep up the good work. If you have ideas, talk to people, talk to me, talk to the executive board, and just let's move forward from this. And I will take into consideration student government happy hour and some other ideas, because I think we definitely do need some other things besides committee meetings and all that, like maybe some kind of event. I don't know. We'll work on it. We'll do some other things besides legislation. So.
Okay, Dad.
That's all I have. Given that, thank you for a wonderful meeting. I will see you guys this week. And next week, we are adjourned.
Please be the tuition senator and be here. No, let me